everyone, and welcome to Live, Laugh, Learn TV. I'm Dr. Carol Morgan.
And I'm Jeff Louderback. Thanks for joining us again. We're here for the second time with our guest co-host, Jamie Wray, who's an event planner and just a person who loves talking about all things communication, I guess. Being an event planner, you're in the communication field, and obviously we're all in the communication field. But today's topic being positive thinking, how you get into a positive mindset, and how what that entails, what does it mean, and I know that's one of your levels of expertise, Doc.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like you said, a lot of people think that happy people never have a bad day. I mean, I'm a naturally happy person. I think I just am lucky. It runs in my family, I think. And well, the thing that I'm not really sure, I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know, but I know that there is a connection between the way you think and your biology. Sometimes we think that our biology determines whether we're depressed or whether we're happy, and that is true, but I know enough about the brain that the more you repeat thoughts, positive thoughts or negative thoughts, the stronger the neural pathways in your brain come. It's kind of like exercising a muscle, like the more you lift weights, the bigger your muscle gets. And it's same with thinking patterns. And so, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it that, you're thinking well, and so your brain chemistry is good because you're thinking well? Or do you think well because your brain chemistry is good? And it might be a little bit of both. Or it could be even a learned behavior. Like I grew up in a family of optimists, and so it almost to a fault. I mean, we were so positive that it's almost like we deny reality sometimes. But that's a whole other discussion. But did you guys grow up in families of optimists or pessimists, or what? I mean, how did you learn your attitudes, do you think?
I think I developed my own attitude just based on my parents. My mom was very pessimistic.
Okay.
My dad was very optimistic all the time.
Oh, so you had both kinds of people to pattern yourself after.
Obviously, I chose the optimistic route.
That's good. Yeah.
Especially like with what I do, like you said, everyone has a bad day.
Yeah.
I could be having the worst day ever, but I have to go to work when I meet with clients.
You have to put on
a
your
smile
happy
on
face.
my face and act like life is great.
Right. There's some people who can't do that though. I mean, I've worked with people who, like years and years ago, like in graduate school, somebody warned me about this person. She's like, because I was an office mate, and they're like, she's gonna be mean to you, and she's gonna, rip your head off sometimes, but don't worry, it's not you. That's just how she is. I'm like, oh, okay. And that was true. She did do that. I'm glad I got warned, because I would have been like, what did I do to make you so mad? But so not everybody has that talent, which is too bad. But you grew up in a family of optimists, though, right?
Yeah, my dad. My dad's a real estate agent and a city councilman in Xenia, but he's always he was a youth coach for a long time. Still coaches. He's in his late 60s and still coaches youth basketball. That's one of his passions, coaching. And he's always been of the mindset positivity breeds positivity. But that's because my grandparents were that way.
Yeah.
And my mom,
so again, is it like a generationally learned behavior, or is it just that all you're related biologically, so you guys all just have good brain chemistry? It could be either one of them or both.
Well, that's an interesting topic, because that goes in line of how there's different trains of thought. If you're raised in a good home, showing love and positivity, you're likely going to turn out that way. But if you are raised in a home where unfortunately there's negativity or abuse, or that could affect you. I know they've done criminal studies about that, but it's about I think it's more a choice.
I think it's nature versus nurture is the question. Like, were we born this way, or did we choose? And I think it's both. I mean, when I teach like my gender communication classes, we wrestle with this, and there's really not a clear-cut answer, because really both. I mean, we're born with a certain set of genes and chemistry, or either biologically male or female, but we're also socialized and nurtured to be particular ways. And I think it's very much the same with optimism and pessimism. But we were talking earlier, Jeff, before we did the show, about, like, for me, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a naturally happy, even-keeled person, and I have my off days like everybody does, even though you're positive. We all do, because life happens. And like, if I ever do kind of get down, it's usually because something outside of me has happened to me, rather than me just being down for no reason, like for just a random, I don't know, it's a Tuesday, so I feel, you know what I mean? So what about you guys? Is that like how you are? Like you only get down if something happens to you? And then, you know, if so, how do you get yourself out of that? Because I know how I do, but I want to hear what you guys say first.
Well, I think it's all, what you're talking about is situational. And that's normal to, when something drastic happens, like the death of a family
Well,
member.
that's a whole different
or a
universe.
pet, or
yeah.
you break, are you in a relationship,
Yeah.
or you are
That's
having
grief.
issues at work, or which is, that's grief. And then
Yeah.
work issues or strained relationships, obviously that's more pressure and stress. So, but I think it's because I was raised, because my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family are very positive people, and I've always been around a lot of encouragement and
So you
inspiration, motivation. So I choose to, well, you're in the communication field where, we're both it's all about deadlines, constant pressure, constant deadlines, expectations. So there's going to be some days when you feel extra stress and extra pressure, and that could affect you.
But like when you guys get into that zone of I'm not like super happy. Like for me, if that ever happens, I consciously almost like step outside of myself and look at it from a different perspective. Like it could be like at the end of my life, will this really matter? Or is this going to be an issue tomorrow? Or is this really as important as I think it is? Or what can I do to fix it? Sometimes there isn't, but the only thing you can control is how you think about what happens to you. And I think that the problem a lot of people have is that they feel like they're victims. I mean, yeah, we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control what we think about happens. You know what I mean? That happens to us, how we think about it. So do you guys do that too? You kind of like step back and look at it and then take control over how you think about this situation or what's happening? Is that how you get over it?
Typically, if something happens to me, again, I'm very laid back. There's only certain things that really get me worked up.
That's good.
But when they do, you have that overwhelmed feeling.
Yes.
And me, I tend to overanalyze everything.
Oh yes, me too. I think
think of
women do
every
that.
I think that's what I was about to say. That is a typical female perspective.
Especially when it comes to relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think about every outcome. I have 10 different outcomes to this. Like, okay, if I go this way, this is going to happen. But again, you get that overwhelmed feeling.
Yeah.
But really at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I really need to just like chill out. There's nothing I can do about it right now.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just because I don't want it to consume me and affect my entire evening.
And it can. That's what a lot of people do. Whether it's work or any issue that's causing you stress or becoming overwhelmed, they do let it overcome their whole being at the moment. And then it affects other people too, people in the same house, your kids or your spouse. And,
I know, like if I'm at work and I'm stressed, I'm like maybe dying inside.
Yeah.
But you have to
Smile on your face.
smile and be happy. Same thing.
Yeah.
My daughter, I don't want her to see me
Right.
freaking out or really down. I try to keep up that positive attitude all the
Right.
time.
Well, because you're a role model for your
Right.
kids, and they look to us to, not consciously, but they do pattern themselves after us. And so that's good that you're conscious of that, because a lot of parents aren't, they go around complaining and moaning about life, and it, really does affect kids, not only in the moment, but future, in the long term and how they look at problems. So
Right.
what about you, Jeff? Do you like kind of step back and consciously make a choice to think differently, or is it just something that eventually works itself out?
Well, I think part of the answer has to do with what you were just talking about, and what you were talking about with your daughter is my parents. I very rarely saw them argue in front of me. Obviously, they would every now and then because they're human, but
Yeah.
they would choose to. They always they did all they could to make it a positive environment where there would be. I'm an only child. I have cousins who are like siblings to me, and I was blessed to grow up in a neighborhood with a lot of kids, so I never felt alone. But when you're an only child and there's stress in the house where parents are arguing, and
Yeah.
I think that has a huge impact on an
It
only
does.
child, because you don't have your brother or sister
Yeah.
to lean on, and
Right.
and I was fortunate to grow up in a with my parents are still happily married today. They're about to sell. Well, next year is their 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow. That's
So
exciting.
and they got married at a young age.
Yeah.
They right out of, in the 60s, right out of high school, and my mom had me when she was just 19 and my dad was 20. So, and that related to what you're talking about, that shaped how I look at things. And now, you know, being an adult in my late 40s, and being in the career I'm in, the communication field, I'm an even-keeled, laid-back person, but I'm human and have days like
Yeah.
that. But I choose to say, well, you know, overall things are going well, and I just need to resolve this problem, or approach it this way, and that it's not going to dictate my whole life or ruin my whole week.
So what about in your career? I mean, I know you're, you know, like an entrepreneur, and you get business, and so in essence you're a salesperson, and you probably hear no sometimes. And so, you know, I think a lot of people don't like rejection, and I could never be a salesperson. I don't know, that's just not in my nature. So it's amazing to me, the people who are successful and don't care about hearing no. But, you know, if somebody hears no, whether it's you didn't get a job, or how do you handle that, you know, supposed rejection, and not go, oh gosh, I didn't get this account, and how am I gonna, you know, pay my bill? I mean, it's probably not what goes through your mind. But, you know, being an entrepreneur can be a scary thing for some people. So how do you get into a positive mindset for work?
Well, what's funny about that is that applies to my personality, personally and professionally, because hearing rejection, which Jamie
We'll get
and
to the
I have a
relationship part
story about
in a
that, which is
second.
kind of
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, so when I hear no, I just keep coming back for more, I guess.
Yeah.
Respectful,
Oh, that's good.
respectful persistence is how I like to
actually-
call it.
I have heard you in your dating life say that, like, you know, somebody says no, you just go, okay, well, that's not the one, or, you know.
Oh yeah,
whatever,
I typically don't.
You know.
I think I did when I was younger, because you
Mm-hmm.
know the story, and we've talked about it on this show before, where I was real bashful and shy and unsure of myself in high school. Then I came out of my shell and became
Mm-hmm.
who I am now in college, comfortable with myself. And so I would say in my college years, I let being rejected affect me.
Yeah.
But the older I've gotten, the more I realize it's, you know, if someone doesn't want to spend time with you, then
It's
that's
their loss, right?
It's, well, in a way, but
In a way it
but
is,
different people
yeah.
have different. I don't
Different
hold it
tastes.
personally, because
Yeah.
different people, that's not the one
Right.
meant for you, and
Exactly.
you don't want to be around someone who
Doesn't want
want
you.
to spend time with you, or doesn't
Right.
look at you the way you look at them, or
Exactly.
at least consider that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all about the positive mindset of being
Mm-hmm.
able to not let rejection, because that can be considered. Some people, it cripples
It
them,
does.
whether it's going after an account and
It does.
hearing no, or when you, as a guy, even though we're in modern society where women do ask guys out, guys are still expected to do
Mm-hmm.
the pursuing. So it can be intimidating as a guy
Yeah.
to go up and ask someone out, and then when you get rejected, it can be, for some guys, but for me, you know,
Yeah,
you know
you
how
don't
I
care.
am.
Well, I know Jamie's never been rejected, because look at her, right? So you've never been rejected like that. But let me ask you, I mean, everybody has, whether it's a romantic relationship or a work relationship or a kid, it doesn't matter what kind of relationship. I mean, we all have people in our lives that make us want to, like, scream, right? So how do you go from, oh my God, I want to kill this person, to, okay, you know, I mean, because, like, to me,
Deep
I think a
breaths.
lot of our problems in relationships are expectations of people's behavior that they
Correct.
don't live up to. Sometimes they're realistic expectations, sometimes they're not. But, you know, so how do you handle that?
Me.
Big question, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
with the optimism,
Yeah.
I think comes confidence,
Mm-hmm.
like professionally. That's where I'm like, I could walk into any office,
Mm-hmm.
not even know the person, and just present what I need to present. And
So
I'm
you don't
not
fear
leaving that-
rejection
no.
either. Like, you're a
Not at
total
all.
salesperson, like, whatever.
just go in,
No,
get
it
it
just means
done.
let me try later.
Yep. As
Yeah.
far as in relationships, I mean, that's a struggle, big time. Because me, it's like, what is wrong with you? Because these are,
I think most people feel that way.
what is wrong with you?
Right.
Especially like you said, the expectations. Most
Yes.
people, I think, in a relationship, you set those boundaries, those expectations. And most people should be able to follow those.
Should be. Yes. Well,
Mature people should
mature people, right?
should be able to follow those.
If it's mutual and you're on the same page and you understand, or
Yeah.
it's been made clear what is expected, that's true.
Right.
If one person's not-
Communication is key.
Yes.
Yeah.
It-
Because what I've fallen into in relationships, and yeah, I mean, even though I teach about relationships and I'm a pretty positive person, I'm not immune to having people really irritate me, you know, in a lot of ways. And so I'm constantly have to reframe things and everything. But especially like in romantic relationships, what I've thought was a normal expectation wasn't a normal expectation to somebody else. I mean, I didn't think it was anything. I don't know, like do the dishes or just like kind of normal stuff where somebody I was dating might not have thought that. And for me, it was just like, what do you mean? That's a normal, basic human thing. But for them, it wasn't. And so you have to talk about that. Even sometimes when you do talk about it, sometimes it still doesn't change. But at least communication will help you guys open up that conversation of trying to get on the same page of expectations, because if not, it's just going to lead to for some people, total negativity. Even us
Right.
positive people, if we have enough of those and you're constantly trying to be positive, it gets exhausting.
It does.
So that's why it's important.
It wears you down.
It does, if you let it. But I've known a lot of people too in relationships, even if it's just at work, where it wears them down, but yet they still stay there. But then they just go down the slope of like, life really sucks now because because they can't, or they don't think they can get themselves out of it in some way. And I can see that whether you're in a long-term relationship or at a job you've been in it forever. The longer you're committed to something, the harder it is to get out. But does that mean they should continue the negative thinking, or I'm kind of babbling now, but that it's a hard decision. I mean, you can make those positive thinking changes moment to moment or day to day, but when you're looking long term, it can get a lot more difficult, I think.
Well, I think that's an important point in our final minutes to make, is positivity does breed positivity. So
who you are around.
Who you're around shapes how you are. If you have positive friends, if you're around positive people at work, if you're married to or involved with someone who is positive, that tends to shape your overall mindset. But also, even I know, it's been like 3 years ago, I was engaged and I wasn't, it was an unhappy situation, and that was me being a typical positive, happy person. When something is not going right like that,
you keep thinking that it will, it'll get better, it'll get better.
It weighs on your
Yes.
personal life, your
But it
professional
does,
life.
it
It
does.
affects. So, and that goes back to positivity breeding positivity, and who you
Right.
choose to surround yourself with, and how it affects how you choose to start the day and go through the day
Yep.
and deal with life's inevitable challenges.
Yeah, and we are running out of time, but if I have one little piece of advice for anyone out there about positive thinking, is that sometimes in life it really does feel like we are a victim, because like I said, we can't control what happens to us, but ultimately we're not, because we always have the power to choose how to think and how to act, whether that's getting yourself out of a bad situation or a relationship or a bad job, or certain things are harder to get over, but that is what you are in control of. And so I think that a lot of people think that they're powerless, but you're not. You have more power than you think, I think. And so that's my words of wisdom. You guys have any words of wisdom to leave them with?
I can't really do anything to top that.
Of course.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, well, with that said, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us again. We had a blast, and I hope you guys did too, and learned something. And thank you, Jamie, so much for joining us
Yep,
again.
thank you.
And we hope to see you next time. And until then, remember to live, laugh, and learn.
Bye-bye.